Oh, that's cool. Oh. Hey, what's up? My name's Sir Slips. Magic the Gathering has lasted the last 25 plus years, and a lot of it can be attributed to the multitude of formats that we have available to us. From Standard being extremely accessible to all players of all skill levels, to the potential with Limited being able to just walk into a store and go nuts for a couple hours and that's all, or the fantastic and really deep potential from Eternal formats like Modern, Pauper, Canadian Highlander, and of course, Commander, my personal favorite. Commander has a lot of potential in its form and function that leaves it wide open and able to do just about anything with it depending on your playgroup and your personal needs or interests, which is why it is by and far my favorite format. You could have 1 week where you go down to the shop and meet 3 people who are super intensely competitive, and you just have these insane games that go crazy and all over the place. Or you and some buddies from college can just sit around, drink a couple beers, if you're old enough, and of course just have a great time playing a pile of 100 cards, because that's really all you need sometimes. Which is why I want more people playing Commander. But above all else, personally, I want more people to be able to play more kinds of Commander, more varieties of deck building, which is why I've decided to start this show. This is 100 Below 100, a budget Commander series that's designed to focus on fun decks, occasionally competitive ones, but above all else, I'm here to make decks that are affordable. And today, we're going to start with a personal favorite of mine. This deck is called the Dragon Toolbox, managed by Zirilan of the Claw. Now roll the title card. Money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. Now before we get too far in, let me give you the rundown on how this show is going to work. Every deck on this show will cost no more than $100 US, based on TCGplayer.com's market price. And in addition to that, no single card that isn't the commander of a deck will ever be worth more than $10 when these videos are posted. We're also going to be featuring a budget pick every episode. This episode's budget pick is Guided Passage, a very powerful tool to get exactly what you need at exactly the right time, provided your opponent has a few reasons to help you out, or reasons to be indebted to you in some way. This card has a lot of potential to be used in a lot of different ways, and it really is up to your imagination. Anyways, with the housekeeping out of the way, let's talk about the Dragon Toolbox. Zirilan's main goal is to get dragons from our deck for a drastically reduced price, all while finding ways to take advantage of their enter the battlefield effects and prevent the exile trigger from taking place. This deck focuses on using our commander's ability as often as possible, while also having ways to make creatures repeatably tutorable, or at least become useful later in our graveyard. If that doesn't work out for whatever reason, we at least have a crap ton of big, red flying BEATSTICks, and some potentially silly ways to steal or at least turn a game back around in our favor. Beyond filling our deck full of a lot of powerful dragons, we also need to give ourselves ways to protect them from the very large potential downsides Zirilan's ability has. Telgelad Stylus is probably the easiest way to do this, as it also allows us to reactivate enter the battlefield effects on some of our more powerful dragons on every single one of our turns. Conjurer's Closet is, however, usually the way we would prefer to save our creatures, due to the fact that we get to keep anything we tutor out permanently. Nothing like having your dragon-sized cake and eating it too. Beyond those blink and tuck effects, we also have ways to sacrifice our dragons for some potential value later on. Carnage Altar and Culling Dies function roughly the same in this deck, as they are cheap ways to sacrifice our dragons, while also getting some card draw out of it. Elixir of Immortality is a potentially repeatable way to shuffle dragons back into our deck, and then to be tutored out again by our commander. Hazaret's Favor. This is one of the few times this card is actually powerful in a deck, and offers an advantage as opposed to a disadvantage. Endless Sands offers a slower and occasionally less reliable option, but also has the potential to protect our creatures from targeted removal in a pinch, as well as being much harder to remove as a lot of people don't run land destruction. However, if your meta runs a lot of targeted or non-basic land destruction, I would argue that Buried Ruin would be a fine alternative in this spot, as we have a lot of artifacts that we would like to recur as well. Felden of the Third Path and God Pharaoh's Gift. These two cards are the ways we take advantage of our fallen friends the best, either with a repeatable token generator every turn, or a very spicy zombie dragon generator. Dragons have always enjoyed treasures, and Zirilan's friends are no exception. We have some sweet artifacts for both mana production and utility in this deck. Darksteel Ingot, Soul Ring, Star Compass, and Worn Power Stone are the classic mana rocks. Great at what they do, and especially great when we have so many high CMC creatures at our disposal. Wayfarer's Bauble is also there for a cheap and important tool for our early and mid game. Hedron Archive, Mind Stone, and Dragon's Hoard are mana rocks that also have the potential to draw us cards, with Dragon's Hoard being able to build up gold counters very quickly. Burnished Heart is also a very reliable way to ramp out basic lands, especially since we're mono-red. Swiftfoot Boots is a vital inclusion in this list for its ability to protect Zirilan, as well as give him haste so we could potentially get a dragon immediately after our commander comes into play. Loxodon Warhammer and Strata Scythe. These equipment will steal you games. The Scythe is a great way to get extra damage in, and in a very last-ditch effort can turn Zirilan into a commander damage machine if you really gotta get something going. The Warhammer is also very potent on tutored up dragons, and the lifelink will add up very quickly if left unchecked. Alright, let's get to the good stuff. Now, some of our dragons have a utility effect that makes you end up not wanting to tutor them as much as you want to cast them. And while our other dragons have some pretty cool effects as well, the majority of our creatures are combat focused. These are the ones that fit into that category. Forge Stoker Dragon is best used for picking off small mana dorks or utility creatures, as well as getting big scary blockers out of the way. It's a fantastic creature to tutor up to close up a game. In that same vein, Glorybringer will blow up a lot of reasonably sized creatures, and thanks to our commander, can completely ignore the downsides of Exert. Hellkite Charger. A reasonably sized dragon at retail price, but it also offers one of the easiest, and albeit the most expensive ways to knock out a player or three. Hellkite Igniter. With 18 artifacts in this deck, this card is a powerhouse, and is usually the best fire breather in our deck, although a few other cards will do better if we have a big board state. Horde Smelter Dragon. A BEATSTICK that doubles as artifact removal. Against the right deck, your opponents will do half the job for you just by casting spells. Molten Steel Dragon and Skyship Stalker. They're not too fancy, but they do have a lot of utility as mana sinks, with Skyship Stalker being able to dump red mana into a first strike flyer, while Molten Steel Dragon also being able to dump your extra life into the last bit of damage you need to win a game or eliminate a player. Moonveil Dragon is one of the more powerful dragons in our deck, and this card, fire breathing for your whole team, will have your opponents wishing for the dawn. Mordant Dragon is a really great mana sink due to the power to kill a very large creature with one hit. In that same vein, Tyrant's Familiar is also a great dragon to tutor up with Zirilan, because if you're able to get him out, you're going to be able to use his ability. Sarkhan the Dragon Speaker can't actually be tutored up by Zirilan, but it felt right to put him in the BEATSTICK category, as the majority of the time you're using him, his +1 is what you're going to be doing. Although his -3 does come up once in a while and is very nice to have. Lastly, Utvara Hellkite. The biggest, the baddest, the coolest, the most potentially insane dragon in this deck. If you resolve this card and it gets around the table and you still get to use it, Shiv smiles on you, friend. Do not take such a gift lightly. You can't always rely on just your dragon's raw power and cool abilities to get the job done. Sometimes they need a few friends or key cards to make life easier. Chaos Warp. A red commander staple for a very good reason. An emergency catch-all card that can also be used to save an important dragon in a pinch, usually giving us another dragon of equal or lesser value. Crucible of Fire. Big dragons are always good. But even bigger dragons? Sign me up! Dragonlord Servant and Dragon Speaker Shaman. Hard casting a lot of our creatures is tough work. These two help make it less difficult. Dragon Tempest. An absolute all-star in this deck. Giving all your dragons haste, as well as being able to throw around a few points of damage wherever you want for only 2 mana, makes this a complete workhorse in our 99. Flame Shadow Conjuring and Mirror March. Thanks to Zirilan, we could take advantage of these types of cards more easily, and potentially high roll with Mirror March more often. Now yes, this is a bit of a meme inclusion, but if this works even a little bit, it can and will steal games. Mirror of the Forebears is anything you want it to be, provided you want it to be a second copy of your favorite dragon on the battlefield. Sarkhan's Triumph. 3 mana instant speed, get a dragon. What more could you ask for? Sarkhan the Masterless. War of the Spark was incredibly generous to this deck, and the secondary market hasn't been incredibly generous to me with there not being too high of an immediate demand for this guy. Worst case scenario, this card gets you 1 dragon. Best case scenario, he makes attacking you nearly impossible. Ogre Battle Driver. Gives a little boost to our tutored out dragons, as well as pumping up all the creatures we cast from our hand. Warstorm Surge. With all these dragons entering the battlefield, we might as well get some more free damage out of it. Now, beyond the BEATSTICKs, we also have a few dragons that have powerful abilities that help us interact with the board, or have a very powerful enter the battlefield effect that we would like to use as many times as possible. Bogarden Hellkite. 5 damage split up as you see fit. Hoarding Dragon. A great way to get the artifacts that help make our deck more powerful. Lathless Dragon Queen. 1 part Utvara Hellkite, 1 part Moonveil Dragon. The Dragon Queen does it all. Ryusei the Falling Star. The only other legendary dragon in this deck, Ryusei, is a ticking time bomb that everyone at the table should respect. He's also a hell of a lot of fun to blow up yourself, whether that be with an Enter the Battlefield effect, Warstorm Surge on himself when he comes in, or just using the legend rule to sacrifice to Mirror of the Forebears. The most fun is using Mirror March and just seeing how much damage you can do to non-flying creatures. Scourge of Valkus, the original Dragon Tempest. Skyline Despot. Being the Monarch is incredibly powerful. Getting a free dragon on top of that is completely bonkers. Spawn of Thraxes. Most of the burn in our deck is based off of how many dragons we have in play. Dealing damage based off something you'll just be doing naturally throughout the game is very powerful. Steel Hellkite. This colorless dragon is popular in all sorts of commander decks for very obvious reasons. A great way to kill tokens, and a really great way to interact with permanents that red has a very hard time dealing with on its own. Thunderbreak Regen. A reasonably sized dragon that offers some punishment for our opponent's single target spells and abilities. Dragons are pretty good at blowing up our opponent's life totals. These cards will supplement that by blowing up the other annoyances. One of the few creature removal spells in red, Aftershock is a great inexpensive way to deal with problems. Chain Reaction, Disaster Radius, and Sweltering Suns, for when your opponents are playing too many creatures to answer individually. Chain Reaction does a pretty good impression of Blasphemous Act even if it can't be down to 1 mana. Disaster Radius is a one-sided board wipe that will be active a very large majority of the time, due to the fact that we have a lot of dragons. Sweltering Suns may not kill everything, but it can cycle when you don't need it, which is always great upside. Spit Flame. This card is constantly repeatable creature removal. The fact that we can get this back off Zirilan's ability takes this card from pretty good to straight fire. Vandal Blast. Most dragons don't really like sharing their shiny toys with others, so let's not let our opponents have any. Wild Ricochet. A very powerful card that can change the course of a game at the right moment. This card has so much blow-up potential. The lands. Endless Sands, Crucible of the Spirit Dragon, Forgotten Cave, Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, Gyre Reach Sanitarium, and 33 Mountains. Before we wrap things up, let's talk about a few non-budget acquisitions for this deck. Balefire Dragon, Hellkite Tyrant, Thundermaw Hellkite, and Scourge of the Throne would be some pretty powerful dragons that fit well into this strategy. Lightning Greaves would also probably be more helpful than Swiftfoot Boots, due to the fact that Stratascythe is the pretty much only thing we'll target Zirilan with. Cage Sun would help us cast our dragons faster, pump them up a little bit, as well as being able to use more mana for fire breathing. Sundial of the Infinite is another card like Conjurer's Closet that's a great way to keep our dragons tutored on the battlefield. Just remember that you should only activate it once the Zirilan trigger has gone in the stack. Lands like High Market and Mirren the Moaning Well offer a free sacrifice outlet to your tutored dragons that can also gain you some life in the process. In closing, the Dragon Toolbox is a fantastic way to take advantage of a really powerful ability and let that dragon fan that's inside all of us loose. This deck isn't necessarily that competitive, but it does offer a lot of potential to be explosive, which can and will steal you games. If you like turning big creatures sideways, having a lot of options to you throughout a match, or just piloting a commander deck that goes all in on its commander, this is a deck for you to try. What commanders or strategies would you like to see me tackle next? Let me know in the comments or on Twitter @SirSlips. Also check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/SirSlips if you want to watch me play some Magic Arena on Friday nights. Thank you so much for watching. It means the world to me. I'm not 100% sure the next upload, but I guarantee you there will be more of these if people want more of these. So once again, thank you very much. Support your local game store, and have a great day.